Hello ladies and gentlemen, here is your tutorial for creating the case that all of our pieces are going to fit in. So we find the dimensions for a case by going to lesson 2-1a, creating a complex part. And then when we open up the Google Doc, there is a link here that says the mosaic puzzle case. So I'm going to click on that. And this is going to be what's called a multi-view that shows the front, top, and right side of the case. And this is the isometric of the case that you can see there. We're going to be using these dimensions to create it. So the first thing we want to look at is what's going to be the major size of the case. So looking at this dimension right here, it's 9 from left to right, so that would be the width. It's 6 inches for the depth, and it's 1 inch for the height. So I'm going to go back to my Onshape Part Studio here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the Insert New Element, and I'm going to create just a new Part Studio. So Part Studio 1 is going to contain our pieces. Part Studio 2 is going to contain our case. I'm going to go up to Sketch, and I'm going to actually sketch on the top plane. I sketch on the top plane because I want the case to be lying flat. I went ahead and clicked on the top, and I'm going to go up to the square, and I'm going to click the arrow next to it, and I'm going to go to center point rectangle. This will allow me to click on the very center origin and draw out a square. And again, I can get it kind of close to that 9x6 that I'm looking for. When I click, it allows me to change the bottom dimension to 9 and the left dimension to 6. You can see all the lines are black, so I'm going to hit the check mark. I'm going to go to extrude. I'm going to click that, and I'm going to make that depth 1. Check mark. So now I have a solid block that is 9x6 by 1 inch. Next, you can see that there's this little recess portion right here. That little recess portion is roughly about 0.5 from each edge in. So its rectangle is pretty much from the same center, just a little bit shorter. There are many different ways you can do this part. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to the top. I'm going to click Sketch. And now this time, instead of selecting one of those planes, I'm actually going to select the very top of my case that I just made. I'm going to grab a center point rectangle again. I'm going to go from the center, and I'm going to draw out a rectangle. Now, instead of putting dimensions in right now, instead I'm going to hit D on the keyboard, and I'm going to click the right line and go to the right side of the case. And this is going to give me the distance between them. I'm going to change that to 0.5. And you can see here that this one will also change to 0.5 because it has to be a rectangle. And a rectangle from the center of the rectangle to each edge is the same dimension. So I'm going to do the same thing from the top. Click on the top line, 0.5. I'm going to hit the green check mark. And you can see I have a rectangle inside that is dimensioned out. I'm going to click on the extrude again. Now this time I need to select the inside. And when I select the inside, you can see here that it changes the option to add. Well, I don't want to add material. If I look back at my dimension, I actually want to get material, rid material away at 0.5 of an inch. So I'm going to change it to remove, and I'm going to change the depth 0.5. I'm going to make sure that the arrow is going down. I clicked on blind here and just selected blind again so I could just get a preview of it. So you can see here it is previewing that I'm getting rid of 0.5. I'm going to hit the green check mark. And I have that little section removed. Next, I'm going to add on this handle. This handle, here are the dimensions. It is 3 by 1 with an inside little rectangle of 2 by 0.5. The rectangle out here is 3 inches from the right-hand side. So I'm going to go back up to Sketch. I'm going to select this face, click Top. This time I'm not going to do a center point rectangle. I'm going to do a corner rectangle. And I'm going to click somewhere on this very bottom line. And I'm just going to create my rectangle. And I know this needs to be 3 by 1. So I did mess up on that dimension. So I am going to escape out of the tool, change that to 1. Now I'm going to hit the dimension tool, and I'm going to say this line, and I'm going to click this line, and change that to 3. So now that is all black lines. And I'm going to draw now another rectangle inside of this one. And this one is going to be 2 by 0.5. So right now you see all this red. This is saying that I can't solve this right now. So there's a chance it can't. Not exactly sure why I can't solve it. Oh, I know why I can't solve it. When I drew this rectangle out, this is a good lesson. When I drew this rectangle out, I actually aligned the rectangle with the center of that line, which makes it 0.5 automatically. That was something I wasn't really paying attention to. You can do that because it is 0.5, or you can just draw it, make sure it doesn't infer anything, and I can go 2 by 0.5. And I click this line, D for dimension, this line to this line, go down. That is 0.5. Hit the green check mark. So you can see I have 2 rectangles right here. I'm going to go to Extrude, and I'm going to click this face. For the dimensions, the handle only goes down 0.5. So I'm going to change the depth to 0.5. But you can see here that it is going the wrong way. I want it to go the opposite way. So what I'm going to do here is right here where it says blind, I'm going to click opposite direction. And that'll send it going down. I'm going to go ahead and hit that green check mark. And you can see here now that I have these 2 pieces. Now, this extrude right here, because it's not touching anything, I'm going to go back and edit this. And I'm going to say instead of new, I'm going to make sure it's added, because this isn't going to be a separate part that we put on it. It is going to be part of the case. So I want to make sure I'm adding it to the solid and not making a new solid. If yours is a different color, that's because you need to add it instead of make it new. So my case is almost done. If I go back to my case dimensions, I have a few rounds I need to make. So each of these 4 edges plus 2 internal edges and 2 outer edges on the case have a fillet of 0.25. What a fillet is just an option to make a sharp corner rounded. So I'm going to change the radius to 0.25, and then I'm going to select every edge that I want to fillet, and I'm going to have to rotate here. And I'm making sure as I go around that I am selecting the edge and not a face, because it will fill an entire face and you don't want that. So I'm making sure I have a total of 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 fillets. Hit the green check mark. And then I have one last dimension to put on the case. And at the bottom, that is a chamfer. It is so a chamfer is similar to a fillet, but instead of making a rounded edge, it's a flat edge. That chamfer is 0.125 by 0.125, or 1/8 of an inch. So I'm just going to look at the bottom. Next to fillet is chamfer. It's going to be an equal distance chamfer, and I'm going to change that to 0.125. And I'm going to actually select this bottom face. So when I select the face, you can see it grabs all the edges all the way around, and it puts this little chamfer on it, kind of like you're cutting off the corner with some scissors. And it does that on each of the 4 edges. I'm going to go ahead and hit the green check mark. and the case is done. Now to finish the case, I'm going to go to the Part Studio on the left where it says Part 1. I'm going to right click, rename. I'm going to change this to case. And then I don't necessarily have a color for you to color this. You can color your own. Just stay away from one of the four major colors here of the case so it does not get in the way or disturb you visually as we eventually put this together. There's the case.